Good evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here, and welcome to a very special space weather outlook and discussion. We are going to have quite a bit to talk about today in this discussion, as we have the chance of a northern lights across almost the entire United States tonight, including states like Texas. Florida can even get on some of the action. However, there is a really big uncertainty that we need to keep in mind, and I'm going to show you that later in the video. Here's a lovely image of our sun from yesterday, and you can see a very intense solar flare occurs right around this area here. Boom! Right there, we had an X1.9 solar flare that came right off of the sun. Kind of intense, honestly, and everyone was hypothesizing that if there was a material directly in front of where the solar flare was, that there would be a massive solar storm that would head towards Earth. And that is exactly what happened. And here's another image of our sun here in a different wavelength. You can see our gigantic coronal hole right here, and where your flare was, you could see all that material being exerted from that one spot. Look at that. You can see on your outer edge here, whoosh, you could see kind of like a cloud of orange that gets blasted out of the sun right there, and that is the solar storm, aka the coronal mass ejection that is heading towards Earth. Actually, it's already hit Earth, and you're about to see the data here. But before we look at that, here is your coronagraph imagery. Basically, this is looking directly at the sun, and it will see all the material being exerted in kind of like a halo shape here. And you can see, look at this, right around here in just a second here, you're going to see a ton of material coming out of the center. Whoosh, there it is, right there, a full halo CME that was observed yesterday. As we kind of rewind it back in time, you can see right there, look at that. Classic full halo CME going all the way around like this. So this did release a ton of material, and it all is heading directly towards Earth. Now, you would also note this here, we do have almost what looks like a little bit more of our bulk of our material that is actually directed to the east of Earth, because imagery is flipped around a bit. This is east, this is west, and you get the idea there. But yeah, the bulk, the majority of the material is directed to the east of Earth, but that didn't appear to matter, because you're about to see the true impact the solar storm had. But before we look at that, we actually had a really intense radiation storm going on earlier. Actually, this was the strongest radiation storm since 2003, where we reached S4 levels right here. So this is going to impact aircraft a little bit. You know, if you're sensitive to solar radiation, you were definitely feeling it up there today. And honestly, I feel quite sorry for you, because the effects could have been a little bit on the major side, unfortunately. And you can actually see, this is pretty cool, your radiation storm here on your coronagraph imagery. You can see your blizzard of particles here absolutely attacking our sensor right here. Look at that. Absolutely incredible data that we are seeing, incredible imagery here. Again, that blizzard, that is honestly insane. And then here's another look at your coronal mass ejection from a different perspective. You can see how the sun is right over here, and all this material gets exerted off towards Earth. You can imagine Earth is probably somewhere right within here. This big mass of material moving right towards Earth at rapid speeds. I mean, this thing was moving really fast at over 1,000 kilometers a second. Just picture that in your head. Holy cow, stuff moves really quickly up there in space. And here is our Enlil model here, basically modeling our solar storm. Look at it as it came off the sun. That thing is an absolute beast. And as we kind of rewind the clock a little bit, if I can grab this imagery here, you can see how fast our solar speeds are right down here. This big mass of white and gray and almost black colors impacting Earth at 1,200 kilometers a second. This is an exceptional solar storm for this solar cycle. Now, we've had a lot stronger solar storms in the past, but for solar cycle 25, this is honestly quite exceptional and quite crazy, if you ask me. And that's just exactly why we could be talking about northern lights really far south in your mid-latitudes, even down to your low latitudes. But again, there's a little bit of an issue with saying that, because some of our recent data has not been too friendly to us. I'm about to show you why. So as you can see here from some of our latest data here from our BT and our BZ data, basically what you need to know about your BZ data here in your red is it needs to be southward oriented. So you kind of see this zero line right here. If we are south of that zero line, that is some really good news. And earlier on, about like an hour or two ago, take a look at this. Actually, right here is more significant. We got down to a minus 60 BZ. Wow. We saw this back in the November event, and you remember exactly how that went. Our BT was around 80. That's insane. Just recently, we had a major flip to a northward BZ. You can see it flips to 74 north. Now, there is some relief to this. We are not in the flux rope of our coronal mass ejection yet. And I know I'm throwing out all these terms and you're probably really confused about what I'm talking about. So basically, earlier on, right here was impact, right? You can see this. This is your shock of your coronal mass ejection. And when I say coronal mass ejection, aka CME, it's another word for solar storm. All right, please remember that. Please remember that. You can see our initial shock here. That was a pretty intense shock. Then after that, I'd say we're still in the shock here. Then after this, we went into our sheath, which is usually a little bit weaker than our shock. That's kind of your second part of your coronal mass ejection, if you will. And you can see values were all over the place. It was very chaotic. At one point, though, that's, when your BZ got really far south. And then this is still your sheath. I thought for a second we were entering the flux rope, but notice your temperatures down here. If we were entering our flux rope, all right, our temperatures right down here would actually be decreasing sort of like this. So right here, instead of seeing a major increase in your temperatures, let's say your temperatures are up here, you have seen a sharp decrease kind of like that. And our flux rope is part 3 out of 3 of our coronal mass ejection. And it can be oriented in many different ways. So if this was our flux rope, this would likely be oriented northward by some capacity. But thankfully, this isn't our flux rope, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. But you can see how intense our data is here. I mean, look at this. We got up to 96 BT. Our interplanetary magnetic field is just going crazy right now. But because we have a northward BZ, our northern lights are going to start retreating back up to the north, unfortunately. So if we can see kind of our magnetic tilt shift around, maybe if we could see a sustained period of southward BZ, we could be talking about something rather historic tonight with northern lights stretching all the way down to Florida, probably even further south than that, but that is not a forecast, believe it or not a forecast. You can see here from our Space Weather Prediction Center, they are forecasting a G4 geomagnetic storm, which if you saw at the top of the screen up here, we already are, so that's verifying. You can see where our view line could potentially be tonight, though I really think this will be a lot further south than this. If we can get our BZ to sustain southward, then our core of our aurora will be pretty far north, but that could even shift south as well. So please charge up your cameras tonight. I do think it's going to be a wild night ahead. Again, if we see our BZ south for a long enough period of time, we could be talking about stuff you haven't seen in an extremely long time, and for some viewers, probably haven't even seen in their entire lifetime. So again, if conditions get favorable enough, we'd be talking about some activity tonight that you do not want to miss. Now, here's something a little bit cool I wanted to show you. This is spaceweatherlive.com right here, and you can see all of our space weather parameters as follows. You can see our solar wind is currently around 1,200 kilometers a second, which is outrageous. That is really, really fast. We have not seen a solar storm like this in a very, very long time. So absolutely remarkable parameters in place here. You can see, I'm getting rid of some of the ads here, our density is a little bit low, but I would consider that good enough. Look at your interplanetary magnetic field, upwards of an 83 right now. Wow. I cannot recall the last time I've seen it that high. It's just a little bit ago. It was up in the 90s there. Holy smokes. But you can see our BZ component is very far north right now. Look at that, 68.36 north. That's really not good news for you Northern Light fans out there, unfortunately. But you can see, it's been switching on and off. Like earlier, it got down to negative 56. That's more like it right there. And you can see our DST, our disturbance storm time index here, has plummeted down to negative 158. So negative 200 or lower is considered an extreme storm, and we are likely going to be getting there tonight if this all over here can flip back south. Fingers crossed, right? It's a waiting game, basically. And our magnetometer data, I can't really show you this because our satellite is currently experiencing solar winds outside of the Earth's magnetic field, so it is all over the place right now. It's basically completely separated from Earth right now, so maybe later when things calm down a bit, you'll be able to start seeing substorms on here, but really what you gotta know is in your red line, let's get rid of that. If you see a sudden spike kind of like this going up, that is a major substorm. However, all this data is erroneous right from here, because like I said, the magnetometer, the satellite with the magnetometer on it, is outside of Earth's magnetic field right now, so kind of a little bit wild, if you ask me. Now, for probably one of the most important parts of the video, what is your cloud cover looking like tonight? You can see, unfortunately, we have some remaining clouds down here across Oklahoma, Arkansas, West Tennessee, northern Mississippi, even most of Tennessee getting some clouds, but hopefully those should clear out by midnight tonight. Northwest Tennessee probably more like 7 to 8 o'clock. Then you can see we're talking about some pretty good viewing. We do have some cloud cover, up north here in some of these areas, but it's really not that significant, I'd say. But up here, this is a little more significant. Up here in Montana, like 80% cloud cover up there. Your northeast, a bit cloud over. But I would say, especially early tomorrow morning, if our conditions can't continue for that long, which they could. I mean, with our BZ being shown to go down to like negative 70 earlier, who's to say it won't do it again? And it's going to take a long time for that BZ to relax later. So we could, again, tonight really could be memorable for a lot of people, and we don't have much cloud cover, so, maybe if you want, grab your friends, family, head out into a field somewhere with minimal light pollution, and just watch the show unfold. You might want to wait a little bit longer before making all those phone calls, though, as things can change on a dime, as proven in the past, and as proven literally 30 minutes ago. Oh, goodness gracious. If you all enjoyed today's video, please be sure to absolutely smash that like button, subscribe to my little corner of the weather community, and even leave a comment in the section below if you enjoyed the video, if you have any questions, because this is a difficult field to understand. And then also, you gotta really share this with friends, family on social media. You gotta let them know about this, especially if this winds up being a memorable night. You do not want them missing out on this very rare opportunity. You all have a wonderful night, happy Aurora viewing, and I'll see you back here, hopefully, fingers crossed tomorrow, or at least on Wednesday. We have got a really big winter storm that is going to be heading across the majority of the central, the eastern United States, and could cause very significant extreme impacts, significant icing, significant snowfall. It's going to be the worst winter storm of the entire season. You all have a wonderful night, everyone.